Maddy, I am so excited to welcome you to Social Impact Power Chats.
Thank you for having me, Emily. I have been listening to your episodes thinking, wow, what a great masterclass in social impact. So I'm excited to have this conversation. Thanks again for inviting me.
Amazing. And just a shout out at the top, Maddy and I met at a conference,
Mhm.
and conference relationships do turn into long-term professional connections. So meet
Absolutely.
people and it can be sticky. You could have them on a podcast later down the road.
Yes. Oh my God, that was such a good time. We met in person for the first time at the Engage for Good conference, did a panel on impact. I had the best time. I'm so glad they
Amazing.
put us together.
Me too. It was kismet. Well, and here we are. So we'll jump in because, as you know, power chats are quick. So we'll get to our first question. I'm so excited to learn from you in this chat. So first and foremost, as we start with all of our conversations, how did you get into this big, beautiful world of impact?
Sure. So I'm a marketer at PepsiCo. So when I joined the MBA program, I wanted to go into marketing, and I found myself at PepsiCo when I graduated. I wanted to be a world-class marketer, and I thought, what better place than to be at Pepsi in New York, learning marketing from the best. And I would always raise my hands for the organic, better for you, natural, less sugar, less sodium kind of projects. So this was my tiptoe into purpose and impact. And after a few years, I got my feet wet, feeling great about my career. And I was thinking, I want to get more involved in my community. So I learned of an organization called Social Venture Partners Dallas, and we did pro bono consulting for nonprofits in our area. So they introduced me to this concept of skills based volunteering. So I would help organizations with their marketing plans, thinking that I was taking what I was learning at PepsiCo and pouring it into community work. And the knowledge was happening in that direction. What was actually happening is that the community work was teaching me things that would help me at PepsiCo. And so I was learning about advocacy work and how to write public policy. And that was helping when I started taking on projects that were focused on plastics reduction or regenerative agriculture. So these social impact issues we were taking up at PepsiCo, I was getting a primer for my community work. So that's how it all began. And when I left PepsiCo after 13 years, I left as the head of the sustainability and social impact practice in our global marketing.
Which is an incredible life update. So, since you and I first met, you have um, changed and started your own venture, which is amazing, and the world is richer for it. So, tell us about what you're doing today and what you're building.
Sure. So my new venture is called Citizen Marketing Group, and it is focused on marketing and scaling social impact initiatives. So those could be environmental initiatives or socially focused initiatives, but it's for any corporation, for any nonprofit, for any academic institution looking to do good and who needs help marketing those initiatives so that they can scale their impact. So citizenmarketinggroup.com. I hope your listeners go check it out, and we are here to help.
And we'll put the website when we share this. Absolutely.
Thank
So,
you.
your plate is so full. You launch this company, taking on clients, doing everything that you do, and still you teach a course on impact. What are you teaching kind of everybody coming up? Like, what are the courses that you teach, and why do you take the time to invest in that teaching work?
I get so much energy from being on a campus. Okay, so I come from a family of teachers, and my mother encouraged me to start teaching just as an adjunct professor, one or two classes a semester. And I thought that might be something I do when I retire, when I'm in this next phase of my life and career. And you know how mothers can be. She was like, no, I think you should try it out now. So I ended up teaching my first course, loved it. So I taught Principles of Marketing, which is our intro course. And then the department chair knew that I had passion for social impact work and encouraged me to launch the social impact course at UT Dallas. Now I teach it at SMU as well. And so from the get go, we are learning about social impact at the university level. So this isn't something that they're having to learn on the job anymore. It's something that we're embedding into our undergraduate curriculum. And our students are hungry for it. They love it. They are going all in. And I'm encouraged to see that. So not only does it keep me on my toes in the classroom because I get to hear what Gen Z cares about, But I think they also like hearing what's really happening in the world of marketing, right? So they enjoy professors who are kind of in the field doing the work as well. And so I encourage the professionals who are listening on your podcast, Emily, to if they have the opportunity to become an adjunct, to try it out. It's very rewarding. So I'm enjoying the space.
Yeah, I'll second it. I've definitely appreciated all the opportunities that I've had to get in front of any student, but a specific, sort of university group. You leave feeling like 10 feet taller, 100% of the time. So, I'm sure one of the things that happens as you're teaching these courses is you'll get people who come up to you after class or who will shoot you a note to say, I'd love some advice on career, or maybe there's people who have graduated who now are holding jobs within the impact space who are coming back to you with sort of technical expertise support. So I'd love to hear, like, what are like the top two or three pieces of advice that you feel like you're giving to the folks in your orbit on the education side?
So this is advice that I heard from Indra Nui, who was our CEO at PepsiCo when I had joined. And she said, always have a hip pocket string and think about what is that value you bring that's uniquely yours to an organization. So a lot of us have heart to do social impact work, but it helps when you have a real skill set that you bring to the table. So for me, it was about becoming a really good marketer. And my special niche was taking complex things and making them simple. So sustainability, social justice, racial equity, these are very layered, nuanced, complex issues, which I try to make simple for our everyday consumer when we're thinking about how we build brands and connect brands with people. So that's what I consider my hip pocket strength. So I encourage my students to become really, really good at their craft, really be good at one specific skill set so that they're bringing that to the table in the realm of social media.
Brilliant. So, some of this may be kind of quasi similar, but just thinking about, lessons that you've learned. None of us can go back and start fresh, but if you could, what would be some things that you would want to do again or change based on this career that you are building and have built so far?
One thing I think about is how when we look at innovation within marketing or new product development, we sometimes had thought of sustainability as an afterthought. We create these new products and then think about, okay, well, how will they be recycled? And several years ago, I would talk to my engineering partners and ask them, did you ever learn about end of life disposal when you were creating new products and you were learning about that in school? And they weren't taught that. In mechanical engineering, they weren't taught end of life disposal. So, what happens when you've used up a product? What happens to that packaging? Where does it go? So, I would love to see that kind of thinking embedded into how we bring new products to life. I don't want it to be an afterthought. In marketing courses, we would have CSR at the end of the semester and think about, okay, well, we're coming up with a new product. What could be a CSR initiative it could take up? Now we're building it into how we're bringing products to market. So we're thinking about who is on the marketing teams. So do we have a diverse slate of people working on a project? And we're bringing in people who are going to benefit from the products we're having. So thinking about DEI. We're thinking about how we create new products. So we're thinking about using organic ingredients. We're thinking about using sustainable packaging, and it isn't an afterthought. So we're not just thinking about what new products we're creating, but we're thinking about the who and the how as well.
It's so smart. We often talk about the good brief, or how to sort of goodify, if you
Mm.
will. And whether it's a marketing brief or an R&D brief, if it's not within sort of the genesis of how things are getting built, it's very hard to imagine that it's within the DNA of whatever that thing is, the company, the product, the strategy. And so I'm 100% with you. It's in that day one conversation that this work best lives.
Oh, and I like that term, the good brief. So from the get go, when you're writing the brief, you have that positive impact in mind. Love that.
Amazing. Well, I can't believe that we are already at our last question, but we are, because, power chats go so fast. We could talk all day, I know, but would you leave us with some, futurist vantage points? What are you seeing in your crystal ball of impact, and what are the things that in addition to what you've already shared, which I think is brilliant, like, yes, like let's have it all be on day one, that you see as trends that you're looking out for in our work?
So, Emily, to be honest, I don't like thinking about trends or probability or statistics. I am thinking about vision and creating, like having the imagination of the future I want there to be. And so I'm encouraging people to think about that world, spend some time creating that vision, and then everything else becomes more simple. The execution, the strategy, how we get there becomes that much more easy. And so instead of trends, it's thinking about, okay, what is that vision I want to create? Having that clarity, spending the time there, and then thinking about how to get there.
I love it. It's great homework for anybody listening. And I think just a really great layer to put on the work that you're building on a going forward basis, because that's where we all want to be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining. We really, really appreciated it. And I know people will enjoy listening and learn from this chat. So thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Maddy is breaking the mold. We are going to do our very first bonus track. As soon as we hit stop on our last chat, we realized there was one elemental piece of advice that she still needed to give. So Maddy, take it away.
Thanks, Emily. So I wanted to leave your listeners with 2 tips if they're thinking about marketing strategies for their social impact initiatives. The first one is with this framework that we use when we create any sort of marketing strategy, and that's our 4 P's framework. I add in a 5th P. So the 4 P's are product, price, placement, and promotion. And this is the foundation for every marketing strategy pretty much ever built. When we are thinking about social impact, I encourage my clients to add in a 5th P on partnerships. Because when we are thinking about environmental and social initiatives, these are massive issues that not one organization can take up by themselves. So that's why I add in the 5th P on partnerships. The second tip I'd like to leave your listeners with is thinking about the 3 C's framework. So in Marketing 101, the 3 C's framework is understanding who your consumer, who's actually going to use your product, who your customer is, the person who's actually going to buy your product, and who your competition is, who might potentially steal market share. And I encourage my clients to think about their competitors as potential collaborators. So in the impact space, there is enough work to go around. We're coming from an abundance mindset. There's no scarcity in terms of jobs to be done. So let's see how we can collaborate. As an example, PepsiCo and Coca-Cola would be considered fierce competitors. But we actually come together and collaborate when it comes to ocean plastic and recycling. So if Coke and Pepsi can do it, I think we could do it across other industries as well. So with that, Emily, I wanted to leave your audience with those 2 tips. So I hope they're helpful as they begin their marketing strategy work.
Brilliant. And I think just puts real muscle on the bones of the advice that you were giving before about how to start this work correctly. And I think anybody could apply those same principles that you just shared, those 2 tips, to bring to early conversations. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Brilliant, exciting, wonderful work. And we will absolutely be talking soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Emily.